everyone. Welcome to Phases, the Next Level. I am your host, Valette Sunshine, and I'm so excited to be back with you guys again. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, and share, and leave your comments below because your opinion matters, and I'm here for it. So tonight, you guys, we have Supe with us. That's what we'll call him. That's his stage name, if I'm correct. Is that correct, Supe?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, welcome to Phases. I'm so excited to have you here. It seemed like forever since I talked to you to schedule this appointment. So I'm glad that we finally made it. Yeah, you're welcome. So you and I talked before, and there's a lot to discuss, a lot, almost to where it's a possible part 2 may take place. But I want to you confirm this, that you have been in the world of the music industry.
More the rap side, the rap.
Okay, so more of the rap, the hip hop side of things. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so what I want to do is I want you to take us through your life, basically. I know that the industry can be a monster sometimes, but even before the music, let's talk about your life. But first of all, start out telling us who you are.
First of all, like you said, my name is Supe. That's Supe. I'm from South Carolina, a small town called Dillon County. I'm pretty sure you've been down I-95 South. You've actually ran into south of the border, so that's where I'm from. I come from a close knit family, a very spiritual family. I'm a country guy, a real country guy. I got deep roots, like I said, in the country. I grew up. Let's say, I tell people all the time, there's a difference between poor and po.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up po.
Okay.
P-O-E. You know, some people might have heard this story, but a lot of people haven't. I actually grew up. It was when we first moved. When we first moved to where we were located at, we originally began staying with my grandmother. But then my dad, he actually worked for a farmer, and my dad, of course, wanted us to have our own home, and he wanted it so bad that the farmer, he actually brought a house from the farmer that it was an old mobile home, a single wide mobile home, and it actually had like his hogs and stuff used to stay in. It was a burnt out mobile home. Mm-hmm. My dad actually took the mobile home and made it somewhat livable enough for us to live in it. We didn't have we weren't really privy to running water. You know, electricity was definitely a luxury because what we had to do was because the house was so in such bad shape. Mm-hmm. We actually ran an extension cord from the back of it through our house to our grandmother's house, and it connected on the outside, so that way that we would have some type of electricity. We heated by wood. You know, my brother that's right up under me, we actually grew up where like when we got out of school, you know, most kids, they come home from school and they do homework and this, that, and the third. Homework was like not the priority. We had to make sure, especially in the winter time, we had to make sure like we had like enough wood cut, you know, so, you know, because my dad was at work, you know, right. That was just my mom, so my dad provided. So us as the boys, we had to make sure that we had wood cut, we had enough water pump because we didn't have running water. We had to have enough water pump just to drink, just for drinking water, not to mention if my mom had to wash clothes. Right. And that was a problem within itself. And a lot of times we would run into issues where the hand pump that we used would break. And if the hand pump that we used broke, then we have to push 4 buckets of water on a cart down a dirt road, like a half a mile, to my aunt's house to use her hand pump. So, you know, but I didn't say all that to say that, you know, I'm complaining at all, because honestly, I thank God that I grew up that way, because it gave me a perspective on life where I don't take small things for granted. You know,
Right.
I've had friends, and I have friends that whenever, you know, we used to go visit them, it wasn't a time where I went to their house and I could open up their refrigerator, or they opened up their refrigerator and it was full of food.
Yeah.
And it was just the opposite on my end. Like, it's been times where we didn't have food. I mean, my mom and dad did what they could, but it's been times where our meal was flour bread. You know, if some of the older country folk know what I'm talking about, you know, flour bread and syrup, a syrup sandwich, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, it didn't break me. So it just made me who I am today. Like, it made me realize, you know, that, you know, at any given moment, you know, anybody could be, you know, less fortunate than you. But
Right.
just because they're less fortunate than you doesn't mean that they're less of a person, you
That's
know. And it actually, I honestly feel like it actually helped build the character that I have today,
right.
you know, because it was, hey, I mean, all my other friends at a young age, they got to enjoy being kids,
Yeah.
you know. We didn't. You know, we had to do this stuff. It wasn't no and ifs and buts about that. We didn't have no running water, no real electricity, no work employment at all. We used the bathroom in a bucket, you know, that's and then on top of that, you know, my dad had a lot of pride, you know. So it was no inviting your friends over to spend the night
Right.
type deal, you
Right.
know. No way. In
Yeah.
no way, because it was trying to keep a certain image of what was really going on, when really, you know, we were not doing like the rest of the people that we knew, you know.
Right.
We were almost in high school, you know. I know grade school, you know, junior high,
Right.
when we got situated where we were able to afford, you know, a decent place to stay. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, that definitely, I would definitely not choose any other way to come up. Like, during the time that I was going through it, you know, of course, as a child, like, man, you know, I wish I was like my friend over here or my
Yeah.
friend over there. But now that I'm older and I actually seen the results, because you have a lot of friends that was had a silver spoon, so to speak.
I was
And then
gonna
you,
say that. Yeah.
and then you had me that had, you know, me and my brother was 19 years old working in the tobacco field, picking cucumbers. And these are things we had to do. And when we get paid, we didn't take our money and go buy a Nintendo game. We took our money to a grocery store where my dad was working at, and he would cash the check and put it in his pocket so he could pay the light bill, so he could pay, you know,
Yeah.
it was wrong. And as a kid, you out here working in the tobacco field, 100-degree weather,
Yeah.
to
I
help pay bills. And,
yeah.
and, 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 and you really have to be careful when it comes to that stuff, because when you get older and you start thinking about different things, it'll cause you to build up resentment.
Yeah.
Because you think, as a kid, why was I in that position where I had to do this? But then you start getting into, like, if you get into the know and you got the knowledge of what's really going on, you start realizing how true it is about cycles.
Right.
My mom and dad only did the best they knew how.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, and I believe that whenever you go through something like that, like you know, you're right. I didn't experience what you experienced. We didn't have everything, but it makes you appreciate life and things around you, and like you said, the little things more. I have friends who were given everything, and now as a grown person, not really knowing responsibility and how to
Exactly.
handle things. So what
Exactly.
that does is God sets us up for everything. There's a reason for everything. And the purpose in that, I think, or what it sounds like, is that it was molding you to become the man that you are.
Oh yeah.
Some people that was given everything take life for granted and don't even know where to go pay a bill at, or don't even know how to save money, or those kind of things, right?
Right.
When we want to complain about small things and we hear this bit of your story, how can we complain about that? When look what you've gone through and you endured it, and here you are standing still today. So let's go ahead and proceed. So as you became an adult, were you able to go to college? Did you graduate? Because you said homework wasn't your guys' priority. What did that look like after graduation, if you graduated?
Well, actually, being that I was the oldest within the house, it created a sense of because my dad wasn't in the home because he worked so much. It created a sense of like I was the dad. So even when I would try to leave and go do things like I think about enrolling in college or join the military, I wouldn't go all the way through because I would feel a sense of guilt because I felt like I was leaving my brothers and sisters behind. And my mom, even though my dad was still there, you know what I'm saying, he wasn't there in the home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was there, like my dad idea of being a good dad was working a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's all he knew, you know?
Right.
That's all he knew. So I did it like that. Let me go back a bit, because see, during this time, especially when we were younger, what I left out was the fact that I come from a family with a deep musical background, especially when it comes to gospel music. In the area that we stay in, our family's gospel group, the Wayside Gospel Singers, they pretty much legendary. So I grew up with that that spiritual side in me, that southern, you know, sometimes the fire and brimstone type stuff. You know, my grandmother was a type, and my mom was a type that once my mom got saved, my grandmother, you know, got my mom in the church, and then my mom got us in the church. Then we started going to church, whether we wanted to or not.
Right.
You know, there was no option for us. You know, kids these days don't understand how much leeway they actually had. You know, our house was ran strictly dictatorship. You know, there was no question marks. You know, unless they were asking you why you didn't do a certain thing.
Right.
But that during that time when it was really molding me. So at an early age, I began to know who God was. But I've always been the type that was against the grain. You know, like I was always like, I can't just settle for what you're telling me. I can't settle for this, that, and the third. Or, you know, it's got to be something different. Or I got to challenge this, or I got to challenge that. So during the process, you know, like getting out of school and getting into my adult life, you know, at an early age, my dad got us into the music. So we were always musically inclined as far as rapping. But when we started rapping, we did the cool rapping, the rapping where, you know, females were derogatory names. You know, it was cool to condone drug use. It was cool to really destroy our community, if I just want to simply say it.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's what I did, and we did it, and we were good at doing it. We were good at it. We opened up for a lot of famous people, Lost Boys, you know, Jay-Z, Biggie, Keith Murray, a lot of famous people. But God saw fit to make sure that it didn't go anywhere.
Wow.
You know, and it used to always get to a point, because you know for yourself, being, you know, you do what your career, you get to a certain point where you can feel it. You like, we're right here, but it's something missing where I got to just jump over here, and it's right there at an arm's length. and you can't get to it, and we couldn't get to it. It even got to the point where guys that we were rapping with end up being like very, mischievous and doing underhanded stuff. So, like the story you see, stuff like 5 Heartbeats and things like that, where groups fall apart. This thing is real. Like when one of the realest, all scripture in the Bible is real and living. But one of the real scriptures that I will always live by is the love of money. It ain't money, it's the love.
Right.
It's one of the misquoted scriptures too.
Yes.
It's the love of money is the root of all evil. People will start seeing dollar signs, and you'll see the true side of people's intentions, whether it was financial or whatever. So that our group, which was known as the Black Cats, our group wasn't successful because of corruption. But at the same time, I now understand that was all in God's plan.
Right.
Because at that time, if I would have been where I wanted to be, I wouldn't have been where I am now.
Right.
And I mean probably in a physical sense too. Like there's a good chance I might have been dead or gone or something, because it was so much stuff going on, especially behind the scenes, that we found out after the fact. We even got word that, oh, your guys' names are you Black Cats. Oh, you're synonymous with gun runners up and down the East Coast. Oh, wait, gun runners. I don't know nothing about running no guns. Definitely ain't running. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So then I got into a relationship, and this is the thing I will tell anybody that's listening. If you have a dream, a career, a goal, it is imperative that your mate, your significant other, is 100% supportive of what you do. Almost to the fact they're more supportive than they're more of a go-getter about your goal than you are, because that's going to keep you motivated.
Right.
And see, that's what happened with me at the peak of my, let's call it, worldly rap career.
Right.
At the peak of that, being that things were falling apart. At the peak of that, I also got into a relationship where the person that I was dealing with could not handle my career and what it entails, like, going up in the shows, being gone a lot, this, that, and the third, even with the understanding beforehand that that's what I do.
Right.
And then there's this thing called self-love. So now you got to get to the point where you ask yourself, do I love myself enough to not let this person stop me from doing what I want to do? Or am I gonna dumb myself down and do what this person want to do because I love them that much? But that approach is definitely the wrong approach, because what happens is you build up resentment against that person, especially when that person is still doing what they are trying to do, and you're supporting them 110%. So with that being said, I quit rap. I chose to quit. I retired, quote unquote.
So you chose to quit because because of lack of support from your spouse, and it was causing, or your significant other, because it was causing issues?
Oh yeah, big time.
So you chose to walk away to try to get the relationship together.
Right. Because you got to think, look, at an early age, and this is with anybody, that there's seeds planted. So I've always wanted to be very family oriented. So I'm thinking, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is the godly thing to do. And a lot of times, what we tend to do, we tend to overthink what God is telling us. God is not a complicated God. You know what I'm saying? He's not a complicated. He's not out here putting up trigonometry equations for us to figure out the path to get there. It's very simple.
Right.
And with that being said, I would think that if he's that simple to understand, he's definitely that simple to communicate with. And so when you're brought up a certain type of way, you think a certain type of way. So when I thought, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is the right thing, this is what God wants me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was right on one behalf, because what God wanted me to do was to leave the rap game on the worldly side,
Mm-hmm.
but use my voice and the platform that I was on to glorify Him and what his power is, because the things that I've experienced in my life is some of the story I gave you guys of how I grew up is nothing compared to when I got older, when I got, you know what I'm saying, when I became an adult.
Right.
My first child, you know.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So one of the first catastrophic things that happened to me was in '96. My oldest child, my first son. Excuse me. I got a call from his mom. His mom worked at the hospital, and I got a call from her, and she was like, you know, I need you at the hospital because Krishan and Mama got in a car accident. Now, keep in mind, what I didn't tell you was this is my first child, oldest, of course, but I didn't have really any experience about raising kids. So my son had just been diagnosed with pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother-in-law at the time, she asked us, she know that my wife at the time, my ex, had to work. So she asked us, did we want her to watch my son? And I was like, yeah, because I wasn't comfortable with watching him, being that he was just diagnosed with pneumonia. You know, that first child, you know, syndrome, you know, that fear of not being able to take care of the child. So I remember it like it was yesterday. So she came to pick my son up, and I'm standing in the door. My son was 6 months old. So he was very he was moving fast, as they could say in the South. You know, he could sit up like a big boy. So I'm like, okay. Being that we were in the country, used to always ride around, you know, just throw him in the car seat and ride around or whatever. So I remember distinctively, I'm standing in the door, he is sitting in the front seat, car seat on, seatbelt on, regular seatbelt. And I looked back at the door behind me, and I looked at his car seat, and something said, get his car seat. I was like, nah. And my mom like, nah, God, he good. You know, my little man, he'll sit up. So that's when I was supposed to go jogging that morning, and I couldn't leave the house for nothing. Something just kept me in the house. And so she called. She was like, we need you at the hospital. Mom and Krishan got in an accident. And I'm like, the first thing I asked was, are they okay? And she was like, no, I think it was pretty bad. So I jumped in my vehicle. And you know the saying that accidents happen a couple of miles from your house.
Yeah.
It was right down, like literally 2 miles from my house.
Oh, God.
So the first thing I see is the truck there, the record there, and I see the condition of the vehicle.
Right.
So I get out, and I'm talking to the man. I was like, did y'all see the people, where they gone? They was like, they took them to the hospital, which was the closest hospital, Dillon Hospital. It was like they took them to the hospital. They said, I said, did y'all see these people? They was like, yeah. And they was like, those two women that were in the accident, which was the driver of the other car and my mother-in-law. He looked at me, he said, they'll probably be okay. And he looked me dead in my eyes, and he said, but that little baby, and he just shook his head. And I was like, oh my God. So I take off, I get to the hospital. As soon as I get to the back, I see her. I see my mother-in-law, and she's total pieces. She's messed all up. She's bloody. She's got broken, shattered legs. She's, traumatized. And the only thing she could do is apologize to me about my son.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, no, it's not. I know you didn't purposely go down the road and get into a head-on collision, because that's what happened. So when I went in the room where my son was at, I immediately knew something was wrong, because I've never not heard my son cry. It was like he had tears coming out of his eyes, and his mouth was moving, but it was no sound. So they couldn't find the veins or anything to try to do, get his IVs and stuff. So I had to sit up there and watch these people literally take like a corkscrew and screw it to my son's leg just to get an IV started. So they did all of this. My son was 6 months old.
Yeah.
So they're doing all of this, and then they come out and they said, well, Mr. Williams, your son is going to be okay. We got him stable. We're just going to ship him to the next hospital so he'll be evaluated, and he'll come home tomorrow. So I'm like, oh, man, that's amazing. God is good. We rush to the next hospital where he's at. As soon as we get there, the surgeon comes out with a pink paper on a clipboard. And the surgeon says, he looked me in my face. He said, look, your son is in a bad position. He said, right now, your son has a torn pancreas, lung collapse, broken neck, broken leg. Yes. And he told me, he said, your son is going to have surgery on his spine immediately. If he doesn't, he's going to die. If he does, it's still a good chance he's going to die. So here I am, barely out of high school, and pretty much newly married, and now my only child is in this position. And of course, some things are too overwhelming for a mother. So my wife just lost it at that point. So the burden of signing those papers of my son's life was buried on me, but I didn't have a choice. So he went through the surgery and all that. He ended up staying in the hospital probably for over a year.
Yeah. He was 6 months when this happened.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And he stayed in the hospital for over a year. When he finally did come home, but they didn't tell us. We kept wondering, like even in the hospital, they was like he kept spiking fevers. But what we found out later in hindsight was that whenever you have a severe spinal injury, you tend to spike fevers out of the blue. Mm-hmm. So one night we had a home health nurse. We had just newly got home, just pretty much got home, got him settled in. And I used to wake up in the middle of the night because, I used to be a little party animal too. So I used to wake up in the middle of the night, hot boxing when I had too much drink or whatever. And I used to drink milk to cool me off. So I'm drinking milk and I'm getting ready to go back to bed. And like I said, God is not loud, bullying God. He's very soft spoken. Right. So when I was getting ready to lay back down, I heard a voice say, check on Kushan. I was like, nah, he all right. He got a nurse. That's what I said in my head, lay back down. Voice said, check on Kushan. I was like, nah, he all right. The nurse is here, whatever, I'm trying to go back to sleep this thing off.
Right.
Voice got a little bit louder. Check on Kushan. Wow. Like, just like that. It wasn't louder. It was just like more emphasis.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to check on him. So as soon as I walked in the room, I turned the lights on. I knew that there was something not right. So I woke my wife up, my ex-wife. I said, look, something wrong with Kushan. You got to get here and you got to come look at him. As soon as she walked in, she grabbed the phone, started dialing 911. She asked the nurse, she was like, have you checked his temperature? The nurse was like, I checked it when I first got here. And my ex was like, well, I'm pretty sure his temperature is real high just by, I could feel his body. So the rescue squad came, they picked him up. We go to the hospital. So, of course, this time they wouldn't let us come in the back at all. So the nurse kept saying, you know, I kept asking, have you got my son's fever to break? No, not yet. We haven't got it to come down. You know. Then this one I know things were getting serious. The doctor came out and he said, do y'all have your son's seizure medicine? And I'm like, my son doesn't have seizures. I was like, well, he's having seizures now. So I knew that his temperature, you know, when they start having seizures, his temperature's pretty high. Right. So the first time I checked, what I didn't tell you, the first time I checked, they told me his temperature was 104.6. Mm-hmm. The next time they said, no, we can't get it to break. It's 106.3.
Gosh.
Before my son's temperature broke, it went up to 109.6. Gosh. So in a medical term, and for lack of a better term, it pretty much cooked his brain, you know. But what the doctors didn't, what they said was, okay, he's going to be in a vegetative state, not like this and third. You know, he's never going to be the same or whatever. Admittedly, it changed him because my son was pretty much on the road of getting better. He was like moving around, smiling, laughing and stuff like that, even though he had a trach, a gastronomy tube and all that stuff. But after this, I think he stayed asleep in a coma for like a week. And then when he finally opened his eyes, you could tell like he was not all the way there.
Right.
But let me tell you something about the God I believe in and the God they believe in. See, I believe in a real, true living God. They believe in medicine. And I knew that my son was already a miracle son by just the things that I've seen him go through, the things that he lived through. But I knew God wasn't through using him as a testimony on how much power he really has.
Right.
My son did not. I would lie if I said my son returned back whole and this, that, and third.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff that they told us he wasn't going to be able to do, as far as like communicating, he ended up doing.
Wow.
He ended up like he would smile. He would you could tell that he would purposely take his trach out just to make the alarm go off, because after he would do it, he would smile, and I mean he would do it every time.
Right.
He would cry out. You could hear him. He'd be like, "Mom," or he said, "Dad," something like that, you know. So this thing was so traumatic in that relationship that had a lot of underlying issues that caused us to eventually get a divorce.
Right.
So fast forward, I'm in another relationship now, and we're on the beach in Myrtle Beach, and my family members are blowing my phone up. Where you at? Where you at? And I'm like, well, something is wrong. Something is wrong.
Right.
Where you at? Where are you at? I'm on my way home. Well, you need to get to the hospital immediately. And I'm like, what's going on? They was like, you just need to get to the hospital. Okay. So my dad called me first. Then my ex, she called me. That's when she was like, you need to get to the hospital. But then my dad called the second time. He was like, are you driving? And I was like, no, sir. He was like, pull over and let somebody else drive. I was like, okay. I was like, y'all scare me. What's going on?
Right.
I was like, I can't take this no more. I can't get another inch closer to the hospital without y'all telling me what's going on. And keep in mind, my son was my dad's heart. I mean, like, especially with everything he'd been through, that was my dad's heart. And you got to think, my dad was the strongest man that I knew or know. But to hear my dad say the words that my son had passed, and how he sobbed when he said it, oh my God. I don't know which one broke my heart worse. You know, it's like, because I never heard my dad break like that, you know. But then, you know, and then you almost get a guilty conscience, because shock is so real and so fast that you don't even have time to emotionally process it right then. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's traumatic. It's traumatic. You be like, oh my God, you lying. And then in your mind, you be like, that's when my conscience kick in. Like,
Right.
Why am I not going crazy? Why am I not breaking down? Why am I not doing this? But the closer I got to that hospital, the more that reality set in. But it didn't really hit me until those double doors opened on that hospital. And everybody from my family was standing there, and it's like they were waiting on me. And
I know. It's okay. Take your time.
as soon as those doors opened, it's like everything got quiet, and like everything. That's when reality hit. Like I tell people all the time, do not take your kids for granted. Like a parent shouldn't have to experience staying in the morgue with their child. And that's what I did. Like I would not leave that hospital until they came and got my son out of that morgue. I was in the morgue with my son laid on the table, breathless.
Oh God.
Needless to say that this devastated me. Fast forward a year later, not even a year, I'm leaving the studio and my brother called me. Well, actually, I had a couple of missed calls from my brother. And I was like, man, what's up? He was like I said, at that time, I was kind of living a little wild. So at that time, he was like, man, I need you. I'm like, bro, what's going on? Like, I'm thinking something going on. We got to go take care of some business and stuff.
Right.
And he was like, man, my mama dead. And I'm like, bro, wait a minute. Whoa. Do what? He's like, I just found my mom in the bed, bro. He's like, she is gone.
Oh.
And see, this is another thing too, another valuable lesson I tell people, because at that time, it just so happened, me and my mom had fell out about something that wasn't even major.
Right.
You know, and I'm big on, first of all, I'm like this. If you teach me something and I do exactly what you teach me, then why am I wrong for doing what you teach me? But besides the point, whenever we fell out, my whole approach was, I'm gonna let time heal this. I'm not gonna force it. But I did not think that I would actually run out of time. You know, like it's not like my mom was bad off sick. She had cancer,
right,
nothing like that. She had medical issues, but nothing that would make me say, you know, any day now, the woman that birthed me, my best friend, would be gone. And on top of that, not even a year from the time I lost my child. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, this God thing is not for me, because I'm angry as crap.
Right.
Like, I'm angry. I have no feelings. I'm numb to the world. I'm just existing. I'm not living. I'm just existing. I don't care. Fortunately, and I thank God for this, I didn't get to the point where I started using drugs. Right. You know what I'm saying? I did drink bad, but I never got to the point where, you know, where I'm gonna resort to hard drugs. I'm gonna resort to, you know, doing something crazy or hurting other people. It was hurting myself. What those two close and sudden passings changed my whole perspective on life. You know, it's nothing for me to see a child disrespecting their mom, and I tell them my story. You know, a grown person. I even talk to them.
Yeah.
It's nothing for me to see a young mom sit their child in a regular seat, and for me to walk up and say, "Listen, let me tell you what I went through real quick with my son. Please, if you have one, use it. If not, invest in one. Put your child in the car seat, because you do not want to have to tell this story that I'm telling. No parent should have to." And then, guess what I had to deal with on top of that? I had to deal with
there's more
the guilt
of
looking at the car seat and not giving it to him. Like, that ate at me for so long. I hated myself for so long. And the woman that recently, the woman that actually ran into him, my mother-in-law, was actually my cousin.
Oh.
So she fell asleep in the middle of a curve at the same time that my son dropped a bottle, and my mother-in-law bent down to pick it up. And in a split second, she looked up, the girl was in the lane. The impact was so hard of that hit that they said the motor out of the girl's car jumped out of the hood into the seat where she was at. And she had to sit in a car with a hot motor on her leg for almost an hour.
Oh my gosh.
So, but when me and her finally talked about it, which was probably a little over a year ago, 2 years ago, I did not realize, and it makes sense, I did not realize how much that thing affected her as far as, like, you know, what she was carrying on her. But for me to come to her and tell her, I'm his father, and I have no hard feelings against you for that. I don't look at you a certain type of way. I love you. It's not like you are out here, you know, all willy-nilly doing something you had no business. It's called an accident for a reason. God knows I wish it wouldn't happen. I would have my son. You wouldn't have that permanent limp. You wouldn't have to walk with a cane for the rest of your life. God knows I wish that would happen. But for whatever reason, there's nothing in this universe that happens without God's say so.
Right. Yeah.
So I know that it was part of God's plan.
Right. What would you say to people that say, you know, because when people go through those type of tragedies in their lives, these are like, death is huge, and especially if you're a child and your mother, they give up on God and say, you know, I'm mad at God or whatever. What would you say to those people? Because we know who the God we serve, and we know that God doesn't make bad things happen. So what would you say?
Oh man, and see, it's hard for me to even say that because I know their feeling. You know what I'm saying? So I know how easily you could say, man, what kind of God would let something like this happen? You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, understand this: the enemy never stops working. Never. And even in death, this is when he operates some of the worst and some of the most mischievous times. Think about this. When is the most time you hear about family quarrels or issues, chaos? It's when somebody died, and somebody passed away.
True.
That's because the enemy, he's messing. He's like, all these different emotions, I'm definitely going to play on this.
It's true.
So, and then this is the same thing. I thank God that I was deep rooted and I had that seed of the knowledge of God that I had. Because if I wouldn't be talking the way I talk now. I wouldn't be testifying and glorifying him after the fact that I felt like he allowed, you know what I'm saying? I would be bashing. Right. But what I would actually say to them is that this is the opportune time for the enemy to operate, and he's gonna operate. Oh. So what he's gonna make you feel like he's gonna play on your confusion. Because you're gonna, people say don't question God, but as a human, that is practically impossible. Because you might not openly say why God, but in your mind,
yeah,
you're gonna say why God.
Right.
So once that enters your mind, the enemy automatically knows there's doubt there.
Right.
You're not trusting God. So guess what? I'm gonna come play on this. Man, you know what? God don't love you. What kind of God would let your son get killed? What kind of God would let, in the manner that's happening? Your mama wasn't a bad person. Matter of fact, your mom was a devout Christian. So why would God take her out of the blue, out of this, that, and the third?
Yeah. So
everybody.
Oh, go ahead.
Everybody's here for a season.
Yes.
And for a reason.
Right.
Once that person leaves this world, their work here is done. God has saw fit to take them away. It's part of life, and it's sad that I could say this. I've experienced it so much to where I understand that now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been times, and I don't know if anybody else out there is like this, which I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh yeah.
It's been times as a child that I've been traumatized. Death was a traumatic topic for me.
Yeah.
Like that's for now. That's it.
Yeah.
And after that, what is there? I don't know. Like, and God forbid if I go to this hell place that they told me about, where I'm gonna burn forever and
Right.
ever. And then guess what? And guess what else they told me? If I do make it, I'ma barely make it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm experiencing this as a child. So I'm like, Lord Jesus, what I can't do is die and wake up in hell and eat fire all my life and burn all my life. And then I'll be sitting over there in hell, and there's a gulf between heaven and hell. And the people in hell can see what the people in heaven doing, but the people in heaven can't see what the people in hell doing. Matter of fact, people in heaven don't even remember me. That's traumatic within itself.
Yeah.
Like, somebody you love dearly.
Your loved one.
Forget about you. And you know that.
Yeah.
So that's like a lot, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier too. A lot of our teachings I don't take away from them, but at the same time, they can cause you to not have a true understanding of who God really is. And if you really don't know who God really is, you're missing out big time.
Yeah.
Because when I was a child, being that I come from a home that believed in discipline, and ain't none of the scraps that we deal with now, no spanking, I got my butt beat.
Yes.
So
whenever we were just talking about that today, we got whooped.
Yeah, whenever you hear terms like God's gonna strike you down, He's gonna make you pay, you in your mind as a child, you don't process that as God is a loving God. You process that as, I remember when my daddy beat my butt and I didn't like that. So he was a mean man to me when he did that. Yeah. So therefore, when they say fear God, I'm gonna be scared of God.
Right.
Not with the understanding that the Bible fear is speaking about respect.
Right.
Speaking about reverence.
Absolutely.
But see, that goes back to the lack of knowledge that our people had and what they were taught. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's right.
And another scripture. You know, my people perish for the lack of knowledge.
Man.
You know, we got to get in this word and get an understanding of what it really is. That's God is the most. First of all, as a human, we can't quantify His love. How? As much think about the person that you know in your heart that you love the most. Yeah. God loves you more than that.
Yes.
And you can't even imagine how much He loves you more than
that. Or the person. That's right. That's right.
We'll humanize God. We'll take God and we'll say, well, this is what we're gonna do. Well, God's gonna look at this sin a certain type of way. How you know? When have you walked in God's shoes? When have you became God? You know what I'm saying? And that's another one of my pet peeves. People will pick and choose sins that they want to elevate over others. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They'll say, well, homosexuality is a sin, but you turning the blind eye to a brother over here that got 500 girls? That's right. You turning the blind eye to my man over here that got a gambling problem? Right.
They're all sins.
That's it.
That's it.
I said we all are sinners. We just sin different.
That's it. And it's true.
That's it.
So there was something else that we talked about that happened with a tree. Do you want to share that?
Oh.
Because it didn't stop there. There's something else.
So after my mom passed away, a few years later, I'm on my way visiting my brother, and I'm on my way home, let me say this first. When you look back over certain things that happen in your life, it amazes me at when you notice, like, if I wouldn't have stopped here for a certain amount of time, this wouldn't have happened. Or if I wouldn't have done this.
Yes, I've been there.
People, if one thing changes in the sequence, the whole sequence changes.
That's right.
So right. That all those timing things had to happen. So I said that to say. So I'm just riding down the road, me and my ex at the time, and we just talking. And the crazy thing is, we're talking about we had actually got in an argument earlier that day, because I'm a person that I can be a little anal when it comes to giving me directions, especially when you wait till the last minute and be like, turn right here, you know, and we right here on the turn. It gets a little fancy sometimes. At least at that time it did. So we got a little spat about that or whatever. So we're on our way back, and you know, we're talking about, you know, the fact that, you know, you got to be careful how you argue and stuff like that, because life is short, this, that, and the third. So the whole time she's talking to her mom, and she's saying, you know, she really did. She was telling me she really didn't want to make this move to go to her mom's house or whatever, because that's where we were going right before we go back to Virginia, because this is when we were staying in Virginia. And she just kept saying that. She'd call her mom. She was like, Mom, are y'all still doing this, that, and the third? And Mom's like, yeah, sure, come on, please come, I want to see you. So like I said, we're riding down the road talking. And all I remember is the loudest bang and the most traumatic joke you could imagine in your life.
Right.
It was like we're riding down the road, talking, laughing, joking, ha, 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 ha. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam. And the only thing I remember is I could hear her. I heard her say, like, a little scream, like, oh. So I'm like, I didn't realize it at the time, but I found out later that I was knocked unconscious. But a period of time had elapsed while I was out. So when I came to, I opened the door of my truck, and when I stepped outside of my truck, I kept falling. Like, you know how when you're a kid, you turn around in a circle and you fall down? That's how I felt.
Yeah,
I kept falling, but I was so confused that I didn't know what had happened and why I couldn't stand up.
Right.
So my son was with me. He was 13 at the time. He was sitting behind me. So my son, my wife at the time, and my son and myself. So I was driving. She was on the passenger. He was sitting behind me in the driver's back seat.
Right.
So finally he came around and he was like he was breathing frantically. I was like, Tay, I was like, man, what happened? He's like, I don't know, Dad. He was like, something hit us. And I'm like, what? He was like, something hit us, because we driving down a straight road.
Right.
Only going like 35 miles per hour. We're not even going fast. It's a back road, a rural neighborhood. And he said, I think a tree fell on our car. And I'm like, what? So I'm still out of it. So I'm like, so I finally get my bearings, and I'm like, where's your mom? And he was like, she in the car dead. And I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, Dad, she dead. So think now, I'm out of it. I can barely see him. Everything's blurred to me. So I turn around, half of the roof of my truck is gone. And all I see is her slumped over with a gash from here to here, and it's laid open. Right. And she just leaking everywhere. And it's a lady standing beside her, talking to her. But because I'm confused, and my son just said she's dead. That's all I know. So being that, like I said, I'm a provider. I'm trying to get to it. Like, it's a guy holding me. That's how I know I was in bad shape too, because I'm not bragging, but I'm a pretty strong guy. So for him to just hold me as easy, and he was a smaller guy. He was just holding me like, well, one arm. So I knew I was in bad shape, and I was bleeding all out the mouth and everything. So the rescue squad came, they took her, and then they wanted to take me. And me being, masculine man, no, I'm not going, this, that, and the third. It's like, look, bro, I don't know if you know it, but the tree fell on your vehicle, and you got a pretty good trauma. You got head trauma, I'm pretty sure. I don't have head trauma. It was like, okay, so they'll just ask you a few questions, we'll let you go. Yes, sir. It was like, do you know where you at? I'm like, yes, sir, absolutely. They said, where are you at? And for the life of me, I knew where I was at, but my mouth would not let me form like I couldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have the brain function to put the words out. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I knew then, I was like, oh my God, I could be hemorrhaging on the brain or something, you know? So I get on ambulance, they take me to the hospital or whatever. Imagine your significant other or your spouse, and you're in the emergency room after this traumatic incident just happened, and you lay beside her and you can hear everything that they're doing to her, or to the point where it gets so intense that they close the curtains and then they start like speaking real low, so things are getting bad, So they get her better. I refuse to stay that night, so they take her to the same hospital that my son went to. So when I go to the hospital and I see her, first of all, her head is probably about the size of half of a stop sign. Like, her head was really swollen. She had severe trauma in the head. But this is the thing that I would tell anybody. And see, it's all about time. It's all about God not wanting you to take people for granted or time for granted. When you with somebody for so long, and then all of a sudden it's boom, nothing. I mean, regardless to if we hated each other, whether we loved each other, there was some type of communication. Even if it wasn't a type of communication, there was the ability to communicate if we wanted to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you go from that to that person not being able to communicate.
Yeah.
And see, what a lot of people might not know, when it comes to brain injuries, there's no diagnosis. They cannot predict what the brain is gonna do. There's not been enough scientific studies or medical studies to predict, you know what I'm saying, if we tweak this part, then this will happen. No. The brain is so finicky to where the brain repairs itself. So whatever it does. And you just got to accept that. The only thing that helps a severe brain injury is rest. So every day that she was down, I was there. Every day, like I said, a significant other, for the doctors to come in and they examine the person, and then they look at you and say, hang in there day by day and walk away. That's a lot. And like I said, you got to think about everything else I've been through. Like, and it's crazy because the things that I learned in the hospital with my son came back to me when I was in the hospital with her. So it got to the point where you had nurses that were actually getting confrontations about who would have her as a patient, because they know they wouldn't have to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because I would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was big on that. Like, I'll make sure in order to make sure that my loved one is getting the proper care, I'm gonna do it, even though I know that's what they get paid to do. you mess around and you get these paycheck nurses that's only there for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And then you'll mess around and be in jail because you be on kind of charge for being
right.
present in the hospital.
That's right.
So I'd rather do it myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
man. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And then so let's talk about currently, because now, so you said that earlier you said that you stopped the music business because your better half, your other half, was not really supportive of that. So although you loved music and that was really your passion, you decided to stop. And you know, everything happens for a reason. But now, you gave the advice also that when you're passionate about something, that you shouldn't give up on your dreams, that you should continue to go for it. And anything and anybody that doesn't support you or hold you back, you got to part ways.
Oh, yeah.
The background noise is kind of a lot, so I hope you can hear me okay.
Is it my background noise?
Yes. It sounds like
I'm sorry.
Talking. That's okay.
It's probably that radio on there.
Okay. So, but anyway, and so sometimes we have to depart from things, people, whatever that holds us back. Tell me what you're doing today, because you did walk away from what you were compassionate about. What's going on today with you and music?
Well, first, if I must be transparent, I am back into my music, and with that being said, because that person wasn't willing to budge, then I had to choose, you know. And I can honestly say that, and this is for anybody out here that's struggling with it, so you won't think it's abnormal. That is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because you actually have to, if you're not a selfish person, it's hard to be selfish.
Right.
And sometimes in certain situations, and I'm not saying selfish in a negative connotation, but sometimes you have to be selfish in order for you to be happy, in order for you to be at a place of peace. I hear what you're saying about this radio. It seems like they're turning it up louder or something.
That's okay.
They might be doing it because of me. But I'm currently I'm working on an album. I don't even, it's not even titled yet, but I'm just the songs that I do now. First of all, when I came back into the game and I prayed and asked God what He wanted me to do, and He specifically told me, you know, that I was to be a fisherman, you know, and that's something I don't mind being, you know. I know it comes with a lot of criticism. I know it comes with a lot of slanted looks and slanted eyes. I know all of that. And I'm game for it. I mean, prime example, look at Kanye. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying, you know, he's in it, you know, he's just being opportunistic or whatever. I mean, maybe he is and maybe he's not. But we're not in a position where we should be the ones that take that and run with it, you know. And so I knew, you know, that this was going to be a hard road for me, being that, you know, and I'm not saying this to take away from any secular artists, especially hip hop artists out there, but it's real easy to have a gambit of curse words that you could use at your disposal to create music with. It's really easy. But to be able to sit down and convey your thoughts effectively without saying negative words, without using profanity, without calling a female out of her name, you know what I'm saying? And still I could paint the same picture that a so-called trap artist could paint without all the gore and the bad words. and see, and that's one of the reasons why I knew that this was going to be tough, but I knew that I was up for the challenge because I know that being that music, especially our music, is so influential and so big that I was up for the task to be, like I said, when I was younger, I was the one that went against the grain.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm still that guy that goes against the grain. Like everybody else trapping. I'm trying to get them out the trap. I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to help you realize. Think about the word itself. The word itself tells you what it is. It's a trap. I mean, there's no good way to end that unless you just get out of it and leave it alone. There's no career, and you know, and see the perception that a lot of these young guys got is that that's what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of them got the perception that you're gonna get out here and you're gonna do this and you're gonna lay a track and you're gonna talk about females. You're gonna talk about doing all these drugs, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you got $2 or $3 million in your bank account. That it doesn't work like that. First of all, a third of these rappers are probably a smaller number than that. It's not that many rappers that are really getting a lot of money behind this rap game on a major level. We got to start thinking about the responsibilities that we have as artists. And that's what I really want to be a big part of. I want to be because I don't know if people are noticing, but I'm seeing, even though the music is messing up our communities, I'm also seeing a big push in conscious music. I recently saw an interview. I think it was Professor Griff. It was one of the guys from one of the guys from Poor Righteous Teachers. I forgot his name, but he was speaking on the subject of how music has been strategically used to destroy our community. And even though I knew that, just some of the knowledge that he was sharing, like some of the facts that he was sharing with Lauren, like if we sit back as a people and we think about the efforts that's put forth to make us fail, we should realize how great of a people we must be in order for people to try to put us down so low. And I don't want to be a part of that anymore. I didn't want to be a part of moms in the streets. You got to identify. You got to walk up to a covered body and identify. You know, I just saw the news the other day. Matter of fact, I was watching First 48, and the lady, the guy, the little man body was laid out in the street. You know how they do. When we die, they leave us out for 12 hours or forever. So to hear the mom walk up to the detective, the coroner, and say, "Is that really?" And she asked her son's name. Just to hear that question alone did something to me, because that has got to be the worst feeling in the world. I mean, I have lost my child, but it wasn't due to the streets or anything like that. And I know some people will probably say, "Well, losing a child is losing a child." Not really. Not really, because streets is something that, for the most part, we should be able to control.
I agree.
We got to get ourselves in a position where economically and financially we are on an even keel, and that's where I think a lot of this is coming in at, because it's hard for me, and I even speak about this in my music when I was in the streets. It's hard for a guy that's trying to provide for his family, and yes, you do get tough breaks, But it's hard to save face when you see your people struggling, when you see your kids, your kids are hungry, or you know, your wife is out here trying to kill herself getting jobs, and you can't get a job because you might possibly have a record, or you might possibly have, God forbid, dreadlocks.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. We're not calling them dreadlocks anymore. They're locks.
Oh. Okay.
But I digressed a lot. But what I said I had to say, my music. I'm doing my music now to not only. I'm being transparent because I'm still speaking about the stuff that I've been through. I still speak about the stuff that I go through. By no means will I sit up here and tell anybody that I'm perfect.
Right.
That I'm a cookie cutter Christian. That I don't do anything. First of all, I don't do anything to please man. That's first and foremost. People need to understand.
Right.
Once you get into that frame of mind, then everything else is secondary. Once you learn to please God, then everything else is secondary.
That's right.
Because his will is going to be done anyway. Once you start, it's going to be done regardless. But once you get in line with what he got going on, you start seeing the plan he got for you. And then, but what they say, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Like, but God, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but God, I was planning on doing it this way. And he's like,
yeah.
Man, you don't even realize you went all the way around the bush just to get to your elbow. Like, I was going to take you to trying to take you to a easier, better, bigger place.
Yes.
And you over here looking for this, that, and the third. Or,
so true.
Or you might necessarily say, God, please do this for me, or please do that for me. And you want God to come straight at you.
Right.
Boom. Like, God, I need a financial blessing. So you're going to go to the mailbox every day, and because you think a mysterious check will come out the mailbox. But you're not even thinking about that your job just posted for overtime.
Right.
And that's where your blessing was right there.
Right.
That's your financial blessing. No,
that's right.
I don't feel like working on overtime. Wait a minute. No, you just prayed and asked for financial blessing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You gotta be how people say, be specific, not specific.
Be specific.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, this was kind of heavy for me. I'm thankful that you shared. I mean, it's a lot. And what this does at the end of the day, by you coming here and telling your story, there are people that have similar stories, but even worse. I mean, since when you thought it couldn't get worse, right?
Oh, yeah.
So by you sharing, I hope that it encourages someone out there, because this goes out to the universe, everywhere.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
And so my prayer is that it touches somebody in a way that they can release and tell their story, because I believe when you tell your story, it kind of helps you a little bit more, kind of takes the weight off of you. And every time you tell it, it makes it a little bit easier, right?
It does. It really
does. So
I
hope that others see that you're encouraged and that it's okay to cry. It's okay, you know, but we have to lean on God, because the only reason that you're here right now, able to stand through all of that, is because of the grace of God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, I just want people to relate to that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the interview. Now remember, there's another subject that we're going to come and talk about it with someone else, and we'll talk about that later, but we kind of touched on it offline. So I can't wait for that one. But in the meantime, say your prayers, be kind to everyone. And again, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Same to you.
All right. And so until the next time, you guys, thank you for being here and listening. And again, if it's someone that is close to you, or if it's even you, just know that you can call on the name of the Lord, that we can endure all things through Christ, and He'll take care of us. He'll take care of us. So you guys, until next time, please leave your comments below. We will be watching. Say your prayers, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was really scared.